In this video, we will cover calibrating the meter roll to glue roll gap. A properly calibrated meter gap will ensure the correct amount of starch is applied repeatedly every time a board grade is run. Proper safety procedures must be followed. Because this video covers calibrations universally with many equipment manufacturers, it's up to the user to determine the best safety procedure. The meter roll's electrical or mechanical limits must be functioning properly to prevent mechanical damage to the machine. The Copar PLC is not a substitute for OEM limits. If you notice the rolls move past their limits, maintenance must fix this immediately. This video is broken up into 4 parts: general calibration tips, Copar screens overview, calibration procedures, and changing operator limits. First, we will discuss the best practices for measuring the meter to glue roll gap. Over time, your rolls will wear out at widths that are often run at your facility. Towards the edges of the rolls, there will be less wear where paper rarely runs. For this reason, it is important to measure across the machine width to find the best place to do your calibrations. Marking the calibration points with paint is recommended so the gap is measured at the same location each time. It is also good practice to have the same person calibrate each week for consistent measurements. It is recommended to idle both rolls for at least 20 minutes with steam flowing before proceeding. As the roll's temperature increases, they will expand, resulting in different meter gap readings than when they are cold. Rolls on an inactive machine may be out of round. Idling the rolls while they are warming up will result in a more uniform surface. Measurements can be made with or without starch, but it is important that the rolls are clean and do not have any dried starch residue. Stop the rolls from turning before proceeding, following your facility's safety procedures. Remove the MSK key or use lockout, tagout, and try procedures, and make sure the machine will not start up. To measure the gap, you will need feeler gauges. Gently push the gauge between the rolls. You should not force the gauge. Doing so may scratch the rolls or your feeler gauge. The gauge should slide in and out easily with a small amount of resistance. This measurement is subjective, which is the main reason the same person should be doing the calibrations each week. Measure at several points across the machine to identify inconsistencies or roll parallel issues. If one side of the machine measures differently than the other, the rolls are out of parallel and should be corrected promptly. Failure to correct this will result in uneven starch application and inconsistent quality across the board width. Next, we will look at the Copar calibration screens. First, navigate to the blue CTC Quality Master screen. Next, press the wrench icon on the bottom of the screen to open the configuration. When prompted, enter your maintenance password and press Enter. Press Setup in the upper left corner. The maintenance password allows access to several calibration screens. Items with black text are pages accessible. Items with gray are not accessible. In this video, we will be using the glue gap page, which configures the meter to glue roll gap. If your machine has the ability to adjust the meter roll operator and drive side independently, you will need to calibrate both the glue gap page and the glue gap drive side page. The remainder of this video will discuss machines with one adjustment on the glue gap page only. Press glue gap to open the glue gap page. The calibration screen is set up so the left side of the screen is used for the double backer glue station and the right side of the screen is for the single facer. The single facer parameters change based on the selection on the bottom of the screen. First, let's look at the double backer glue station. The system supports 4 glue station decks for a quad wall plant. The column on the left, DGS1, is always the bottom station. The column to the right is the second level, DGS2, followed by a third and fourth level if installed at your facility. Next, we will look at the single facer selection. SF1 is always the single facer closest to the double backer. Press the right or left arrows to increase or decrease the single facer number. SF2 is a second single facer from the double backer, followed by SF3 and then SF4. Notice the values on the right side of the screen change as we press the right or left buttons. In this video, we will calibrate the gap on single facer 1 or SF1. The labels on the left side describe the parameters across the screen. First, we need to determine the upper and lower calibration limits. With the Copar system, 2 calibration points are necessary. After the 2 points are set, the system calculates the gap based on the sensor's voltage. The machine limit parameters are the 2 points we select to calibrate the machine. These parameters should be selected based on your typical operating range and may also be restricted by your machine's physical limits. Typical calibration points are at 6 and 25 thousandths. The operator limits are not used for calibration, but are used to limit the range the operator can adjust the gap. The values entered limit the target gap values the operator can enter, as well as how much a gap speed curve can add or subtract from the target gap value. Typically, the operator limits should be set the same as the machine calibration limits you choose. In this demonstration, we will calibrate single facer 1. After the rolls have had time to warm up and round out, stop them from turning. Remove the MSK key or use lockout, tagout, and try procedures and make sure the machine will not start up. Close the gap to minimum, but do not go below 6 thousandths. The machine we used for this video had a minimum gap of 9 thousandths. Use a feeler gauge to measure across the machine. If you detect parallel issues, they should be addressed promptly. You may need to open or close the gap until your target value is measured. In this example, we found the machine's display needed to be calibrated at 9 thousandths. Next, we open the Copar calibration screen. Since our machine is physically at 9 thousandths, we need to change the machine and operator lower limit parameters from 6 thousandths to 9 thousandths. The current value displayed is a representation of the current position. You will notice the values increase or decrease as you open or close the gap. If the value does not change, there is a problem with the position sensor. The lower limit gap value is directly related to the value in the SF min count field. Currently, the gap is at 9 thousandths when the min count field is 5,438. To calibrate, we need to copy the sensor's current position value into the min count field. Simply press the SF min button. The button turns green and the value turns red, indicating the value has been accepted. Now the gap equals 9 thousandths when the min count field equals 7,021. Next, we will open the machine to 25 thousandths, the value we have chosen. Remove the MSK key or use lockout, tagout, and try procedures and make sure the machine will not start up. Use a feeler gauge to measure across the machine at 25 thousandths. You may need to open or close the gap until your target value is measured. If necessary, calibrate the machine screen using OEM procedures. We return to the Copar calibration screen and verify the machine and operator limit parameters are set at 25 thousandths. We note the current value field has increased since we have opened the gap to 25 thousandths. If the value did not change, maintenance should check for a broken position sensor. The upper limit gap value is directly related to the value in the SF max count field. Currently, the gap is at 25 thousandths when the min count field is 17,811. To calibrate, we need to copy the sensor's current position value into the max count field. Simply press the SF Max button. The button turns green and the value turns red, indicating the value has been accepted. Now the gap equals 25 thousandths when the max count field equals 15,815. When done, press the Send Config button on the bottom of the screen to send the parameters to the PLC. It's a good idea to check the Copar screen to make sure the values were correctly entered. Since the gap is currently at the upper limit, 25 thousandths in this example, we can see if Copar displays 25 thousandths. The value is displayed in the overview screen or by selecting the single facer detail screen. It is necessary to limit the range an operator can actually move the gap from the Copar screen. These limit the range of values the operator can enter as well as the range of a speed curve. Typically, the operator limit should be set equal to or inside the machine limit we have calibrated at. To view your current operator limits, open the single facer screen and open the Change Gap screen. Observe the minimum limit is 9 thousandths and the maximum limit is 25 thousandths. If for some reason we don't want the gap to move below 10 thousandths, we can change the operator lower limit. First, open the configuration screen using the wrench icon and enter your maintenance password. Find the operator limit you want to change. In this example, we will change single facer 1 minimum operator limit from 9 thousandths to 10 thousandths. Press Send Config on the bottom of the screen. In order to complete the change, we need to restart the CTC application on each Copar computer. Press the icon in the lower right corner to exit the program. Press the Quit Program button and enter the maintenance password. Once the program has shut down, press the CTC icon to restart the software. Open the single facer screen and open the Change Gap screen. Observe the minimum limit has changed to 10 thousandths. It is necessary to restart the software on each Copar computer for the change to take effect. This completes this tutorial. Please contact Copar if you need further information.